My name is Evie Aar. I'm 28. Last Sunday, over dessert, my parents calmly told me my apartment would be going to my pregnant sister next month, as if they were announcing a change in dinner reservations instead of upending my entire life. It was our usual monthly family dinner. My parents, 55 and 53, had invited me over. My younger sister, Sabrina, 26, was there too, one hand resting on the small curve of her stomach. Beside her sat Tyler, her boyfriend, wearing that self-satisfied expression men perfect when they contribute nothing but expect the world. Everything felt normal, until dessert. Then my father cleared his throat. That sound had always meant trouble. He picked up his phone, tapped the screen, and turned it toward himself with the grim focus of someone about to present quarterly earnings. "Evie," he said. "We need to discuss the apartment situation." I assumed he meant Sabrina's cramped studio. Since her pregnancy announcement 6 weeks ago, my mother had mentioned more than once that they needed more space. Before I could respond, my mother sliced into her pie and said neatly, "Sabrina will be moving into your apartment next month." I laughed, not because it was funny but because my brain rejected the sentence outright. No one else laughed. My father swiped to the next slide on his phone. An actual slide. "Your apartment is 1,100 square feet. Sabrina's current studio is 450. With a baby arriving in 5 months, the current housing distribution is not logical." I stared at him. "That's my home." "Exactly," my mother said, nodding like I had just confirmed her argument. "You already have the relationship with the landlord. No deposit issues, no search, no delays. It's the most efficient solution." Sabrina leaned forward, eyes bright in that soft, helpless way she used to make entitlement look like vulnerability. "The nursery can go in your office," she said. "Tyler's equipment could fit by the living room wall where your bookshelf is now." I looked at all three of them, waiting for someone, anyone, to admit this was a joke. No one did. "You're serious?" I asked. "Families with children have to come first," my father replied, swiping again. This time the slide was a list of studio apartments. "We found several suitable places for you. This one is $1,400 a month. Reasonable commute." "That commute is 45 minutes, I said. "Mine is 12. My mother shrugged. "Short-term sacrifice for your nephew." The room went cold. That's when I felt it. The sickening shift when absurdity hardens into threat. "She's pregnant," my father said in the same tone he might use to explain tax law. "She's pregnant, not dying," I snapped. "And Tyler is the father. Why is this suddenly my responsibility?" Tyler finally spoke. "It just makes sense financially. Your parents explained how much more you make than I do." "Because I work as a software engineer," I shot back. "Not because I'm chasing a creative phase and expecting everyone else to fund it." My father's jaw tightened. "Your tone is disappointing." "Pie tone?" I laughed hollow this time. "You're telling me to surrender the apartment I found furnished and pay for every month, and my tone is the problem?" He swiped again. Another slide. School district comparisons, walkability scores, pediatric clinic proximity, cost-benefit analysis of me moving versus my sister moving. They had numbers, charts, notes. They'd planned this. "How long?" I asked quietly. My mother didn't hesitate. "Since Sabrina told us about the baby." 6 weeks. 6 weeks. 6 weeks of research, calls, lists, calculations, figuring out how to dismantle my life without once asking what I wanted. And none of them thought to ask me. "We're discussing it now," my father said. But they weren't discussing. They were delivering terms. Then came the line that made my skin crawl. "The moving truck is tentatively scheduled for the 15th. That gives you 19 days. I pushed my chair back so hard it scraped the floor. "No." Sabrina blinked at me as if I'd broken some sacred family rule. "You'd really do this? You choose your comfort over your own nephew." "I'm choosing not to be bullied out of my home," I said. My father folded his hands. "The lease contains a family transfer clause. We reviewed it." I froze. "You reviewed my lease? You spoke to my landlord?" My mother nodded calmly. "Mr. Denson was very cooperative." For a moment I couldn't speak. They had gone behind my back, contacted my landlord, built a relocation plan around my apartment, as if I were already gone. I grabbed my jacket. "This conversation is over." As I walked out, my father called after me, Emotional reactions won't change the facts, Evie Aar. But that was the problem. Nothing about their actions felt like family. It felt like a corporate takeover disguised as concern. For the next 5 days, they acted as if my refusal had been a minor, childish interruption. My mother emailed me a moving checklist. My father sent studio listings. Sabrina texted paint colors for the nursery with a smiling emoji. Tyler asked if I planned to leave the sectional behind because it would really help them out. By the 5th morning I was exhausted, furious, and starting to feel something worse. Hunted. Then came the knocking. Steady, patient. Not loud, not frantic. Just insistent. I opened the door in pajama pants, coffee mug in hand, and froze. My parents stood there, flanked by Sabrina and Tyler. Behind them, a 26-foot moving truck. 2 uniformed movers waited with dollies. My father smiled as if this were normal. "Good morning, Evie Aar. We're here to begin the transition." The hallway felt impossibly small, the air sucked out. The movers shifted, awkward, already paid to stay but clearly uncomfortable. I looked at the truck, then at my father. "You're joking." My mother stepped forward, phone in hand like she was ticking off a list. "We emailed you the schedule. Today your non-essential belongings go into storage. Tomorrow we'll take the larger furniture pieces you won't need for the studio." I blinked. "You scheduled my move." "Sabrina's pregnancy is progressing," my father said, sighing as if that explained everything. Waiting only made it worse. Behind him, Sabrina rested a hand on her stomach in a gesture so theatrical it might as well have had stage lighting. "Can we start with the office?" she asked softly. "I need to measure the wall for the crib." She actually tried to step past me. Instinct took over. I moved sideways, blocking the doorway with my body. "No," I said. Harder this time. "No one is coming inside." One of the movers shifted uncertainly. "Ma'am, we're on the clock. Should we start bringing things down?" "No," I said sharply. "No one is loading anything. This is my apartment." My father turned to the movers with the calm authority he used with waiters and bank managers. "Just give us a few minutes." Then he looked back at me. "Evie Aar, let's handle this rationally. You showed up with a moving truck to steal my home," I snapped. "There is no rational conversation." "No one is stealing anything," my mother said, maddeningly calm. "We're simply reorganizing housing so the baby has adequate space." Something inside my chest tightened. "You're reorganizing my life." Tyler, who had been leaning against the wall scrolling on his phone, finally spoke. "Look, Evie Aar, we can do this the easy way or the hard way." I turned to him slowly. "Did you just threaten me?" My father stepped in. Tyler misspoke. "No," I said quietly. "I heard him just fine." Down the hallway, a door creaked open. Mrs. Ling from across the hall peeked out, curiosity thinly disguised. My humiliation was now public. My father lowered his voice, like explaining to a stubborn employee. "Sabrina cannot safely live in a mold-contaminated studio while pregnant." "There is no mold in her apartment," I said, disbelief rising. My mother pulled a document from her bag. "We had the unit tested last week." "You had her apartment tested?" "The results indicate elevated levels. Not dangerous for adults but concerning for fetal development." "You fabricated a mold report?" I asked flatly. "We had a legitimate inspection conducted," my father corrected. Sabrina sniffed beside him, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I can't believe you're doing this," she whispered. "I thought family meant something to you." I looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time since this started, I realized something terrifying. They truly believed they were right. To them, this wasn't theft. It was efficiency. The mover shifted, glancing down the hallway where 2 more doors had cracked open. "Perhaps we should continue this inside," my father said calmly. "You are not coming inside," I said. My mother sighed, teacher-like. "Then we'll wait." She turned to the movers. "Thank you for your patience." And then she did something surreal. She sat down right there on the hallway floor. My father sat beside her. Sabrina carefully lowered herself next to them. Tyler slouched against the wall. The movers leaned their dollies against the truck and waited. My entire family had staged a sit-in outside my apartment. "This is harassment," I said. "This is family," my father replied, calm as ever. I stepped back inside and shut the door. Then I called the police. "Calling the police on your own parents is..." Strange. Like crossing a line you can never uncross. 20 minutes later, 2 officers stood in my hallway while my parents remained seated on the floor like peaceful protesters. Officer Delgado listened, exhausted but patient. So, you want them to leave and they want to move you out? They have no right to my apartment, I said. Sabrina sniffed behind him. But she's pregnant, the second officer muttered. That doesn't give her my home. Officer Delgado nodded slowly. You're correct. They can't force you to move. My shoulders loosened slightly. Relief. But, he added, they also haven't committed a crime. I blinked. They're sitting in a hallway. My mother smiled faintly. We're simply waiting for Evie Aar to reconsider. The officers exchanged a look that said this was very much not their problem. They suggested everyone cool off and resolve the matter privately. My parents agreed immediately. Polite, cooperative, reasonable. The movers packed up. The truck pulled away. My family stood, brushed off their clothes and left as if they'd just finished a picnic. My father paused before stepping into the elevator. We'll come back tomorrow with the paperwork. Please review the studio lease tonight. After they left, the hallway finally went quiet. I called my landlord immediately. Oh, Evie Aar, Mr. Denson said cheerfully. Your parents are lovely people. Such an exciting time for the family. My stomach dropped. Mr. Denson, I am not moving. Well, he said carefully, family transitions can be complicated, but a new baby is wonderful. They told you I was giving up the apartment. They mentioned a possible transfer, I said. There will be no transfer. Pause. Of course. Nothing happens without your signature. But the damage was done. My landlord believed the story. Everyone believed the story. I spent the rest of the afternoon doing 3 things. First, I changed my locks. $300 I hadn't planned to spend but suddenly necessary. Second, I installed a doorbell camera. Third, I emailed my landlord, confirming in writing that I was not transferring my lease and had no intention of moving. Then I texted the family group chat. I changed the locks. Do not come to my apartment again uninvited. I'm not moving. Seconds later, my father replied, emotional decisions often lead to regret. My mother added, the studio will only be held until Monday. Sabrina sent a picture of a crib captioned, this would look perfect in your office. I stared at the screen. Then another message arrived from my aunt. Why are you being so difficult? Another from a cousin. Heard you're moving downtown. Congrats. My chest tightened. They were telling everyone I had already agreed. They weren't just planning my move. They were constructing a reality where it had already happened. And the terrifying part? They clearly believed that if they applied enough pressure I would eventually break. Sitting there in my apartment I realized something else. They weren't going to stop. Not until they got what they wanted. The first few days after the hallway incident were quiet. Too quiet. I should have known my family didn't give up. They simply changed strategies. The first letter arrived Monday. Registered mail. Not from my parents. This one was from a lawyer. Polite, careful, suggesting family mediation to resolve the apartment situation before formal legal proceedings became necessary. They hadn't sued me. Not yet. But the threat hovered between every line. The next wave hit Tuesday morning. My doorbell camera buzzed. On the screen, my sister in the hallway. Beside her, my grandmother, 83, tiny and fragile, leaning on her walker, looking heartbreakingly disappointed. Evie Aar, she called through the door. I didn't raise my grandchildren to abandon family. I closed my eyes. Of course. Emotional nuclear weapons. I opened the door. No one sends me anywhere, Nana said sharply, shuffling inside. But when I heard my granddaughter was letting her pregnant sister live in dangerous conditions while she rattles around this palace. This is not a palace, I said. And Sabrina is not in danger. Sabrina followed us inside, already scanning my apartment. The crib would fit here, she said, stepping into my office. I moved in front of the doorway. No. Nana sighed deeply. When I was pregnant with your father, we lived in a one-room apartment with 3 other families. We shared what we had. This isn't sharing, I said quietly. This is taking. The visit lasted 2 hours. 2 hours of guilt. Stories about sacrifice. Stories about duty. Stories about how I was supposedly failing my family simply by existing in my own home. Carefully crafted disappointment. But when they left, I still hadn't agreed. The next morning, the tactic escalated. A contractor. Tyler had brought him. Just getting measurements for the nursery renovation, he said casually when I refused entry. There is no nursery, I said flatly. The contractor looked confused. The lady said she's moving in next month. She's not, I replied. Tyler shrugged. We'll reschedule when you're feeling more reasonable. By Wednesday, my mother had escalated even further. She arrived with a professional photographer. If Sabrina can't move in, she said sweetly, we'll need photos to show her what she's missing when applying for other apartments. You're not photographing my home, I said. She turned to the hallway, loudly telling Mrs. Ling how tragic it was that a baby would be born into poor housing because of family selfishness. Thursday was quiet. Friday morning my boss called. Evie, a quick question. Your father contacted HR about relocating you to our downtown office. We don't have a downtown office, I said, staring at the wall. They called your job, he said. Your dad sounded very concerned about your mental health. That night something inside me snapped. It wasn't about the apartment anymore. It was about control. They had decided my life was a family resource, and if I refused they would break me. 2 days later Nana called, not to guilt me but to talk. Come see me, she said. At her apartment she motioned for me to sit. Then she said something I never expected. Your parents are wrong. The apartment is yours. I stared at her. Then why didn't you say that before? She smiled sadly. I wanted to see if you were strong enough to defend yourself. Your parents think in numbers and logic. Stop arguing with emotions. Use their language. That conversation changed everything. I stopped defending myself and started collecting information. 2 weeks later, I invited everyone to my apartment. My parents, Sabrina, Tyler. They arrived suspicious but curious. When they walked into the living room, they froze. Behind me on the TV screen was a presentation slide. My father frowned. What is this? Since you like data, I said calmly, I prepared some. The first slide revealed something Tyler didn't expect. His trust fund. A massive account his parents had frozen until he grew up. The room went silent. Sabrina turned to him. You told me you had nothing. Tyler went pale. Next slide. Sabrina's apartment inspection report. No mold. Perfect safety rating. The mold test my parents had shown me was fabricated. Another slide. The cost of their campaign. Lawyers, movers, contractors, applications. Total spent trying to take my apartment. $12,000, I said quietly. My father opened his mouth. I raised a hand. Don't. Then I placed a thick folder on the table. What's that? My mother asked. Evidence. Forged paperwork, harassment documentation, false reports to social services, attempts to interfere with my employment. Tomorrow, I said calmly, I file criminal complaints. Silence. You would send your parents to jail? My mother whispered. You would make your daughter homeless? I replied. Sabrina started crying. I just wanted a nice place for my baby. Then ask the father to access his trust fund, I said. All eyes turned to Tyler. He looked trapped. The room exploded. My parents turned on Tyler. Sabrina turned on Tyler. The alliance against me collapsed in seconds. 2 weeks later, Tyler accessed the trust fund. They bought a small house in the suburbs. Perfect for a baby, better than my apartment actually. My parents never apologized. They redirected their anger toward Tyler for lying. Sabrina had the baby. A boy. I've seen him twice. My parents still treat me like a malfunctioning machine they can't fix. But tonight I'm sitting in my apartment. My office is still my office. My commute is still 12 minutes. The silence is peaceful. The baby's name is James. My middle name. I found out on Facebook. Sabrina wrote, named after the uncle we hope he'll meet someday when selfishness gives way to family love. Maybe I'm the villain, but I'm the villain with my own